The driftwood cantina drifted at the ragged border of lawful space. A battered relic tethered to waypoint station Kessler 9 by a single docking conduit that creaked like an arthritic spine whenever a freighter passed too close. The place survived on inertia and bad decisions. Floating where authority grew thin and desperation thick, Commander Jocelyn Merritt had been standing behind its scarred bar for 11 days, pretending to be the most incompetent bartender within 3 systems. At this point, the act was starting to feel natural. You call this a Venusian sunrise? The Pelicani trader leaned forward, his curved beak snapping shut in irritation as his shimmering throat sac puffed with offended dignity. He shoved the glass back across the counter, sloshing orange liquid onto the already sticky surface. This tastes like reactor coolant straying through laundry. That's the signature blend, Jocelyn replied without missing a beat. Her expression locked into cheerful indifference. The laundry's imported. The Pelicani made a noise halfway between choking and honking, then lifted the glass again and drank. They always did. Anyone who came to the driftwood couldn't afford standards. The cantina attracted the galaxy's unwanted. Smugglers who moved cargo that didn't officially exist. Mercenaries between contracts, fortune seekers who had already burned their bridges, and fugitives hoping the void would forget their names. Jocelyn wiped down the bar with a rag that looked old enough to qualify as an archaeological artifact. Her brown hair was tied back in a tight ponytail. Experience had taught her that loose hair was an invitation to trouble. The red tank top she wore was standard driftwood uniform, cheap, disposable, and tailored to attract exactly the kind of attention she didn't want but needed to endure. Beneath the sloppy act hid something far more lethal. 15 years in Terran Coalition Special Operations. 9 deep cover infiltrations completed successfully. A combat evaluation so classified, it would have made the loud mercenaries near Table 7 choke mid-drink. Admiral Constance Pellerin herself had chosen Jocelyn for this assignment. Someone was selling stolen Coalition navigation codes, precise coordinates to restricted installations through Kessler 9. Whoever bought them would pay fortunes, and whoever used them could start wars. Intelligence suggested the exchanges happened here. Inside this miserable floating bar where security feeds mysteriously failed and employees had learned not to notice anything at all. Jocelyn noticed everything. Another round. For the glory of the Dominion. The shout came from the corner booth. A group of Sarek soldiers had been drinking steadily since mid-shift. They were hard to miss, nearly 7 feet tall, bodies layered in green-gold scales that reflected the dim lighting like burnished armor. Their elongated snouts bristled with tearing teeth, and their yellow eyes held the steady calm of apex predators who had never needed to hurry. The Sarek Dominion had technically been at peace with the Terran Coalition for 3 decades, officially, unofficially. The past still bled through the cracks. These soldiers were the markings of the Dominion's 8th Expeditionary Fleet, supposedly enjoying leave while their carrier underwent repairs in the station's dry dock. 3-bore ritual scar lines etched into their jaw. Ridges-veterans. Their leader watched Jocelyn with unsettling focus. She loaded a tray with Sorek blood wine, a thick dark liquid that smelled like oxidized metal. A human once described its taste as liquid regret. She doubted he'd been exaggerating. As she approached, the leader's gaze tracked every step. "Human," he rumbled, his voice grinding like stone on stone. "You move well for a prey species." "I trip over my feet twice a shift," Jocelyn said lightly. "You should see me when I'm tired." She set the drinks down. The younger Sarek snorted. "She calls us gentlemen." "Paying customers," Jocelyn replied. "Which makes you my favorite life form tonight." The leader's mouth shifted, possibly amusement. His name, according to his open tab, was Vorath Kane, sub-commander, decorated, veteran of what Dominion records labeled border stabilization actions, and everyone else called The quiet war. What those records didn't show was what Jocelyn had uncovered. Over 11 days of watching, Vorath Kane met the same Melvery broker every few nights. Same corner. Same privacy screen. Something ugly was in motion on Kessler 9, and Vorath Kane sat at its center. "You stare, human," Vorath said. "Do I interest you?" "You haven't complained about the drinks," Jocelyn replied smoothly. "That's rare." "Sarek do not complain," he said, lifting his glass. "We endure, and if endurance fails, then we remove the source of discomfort." Laughter like tumbling rocks followed her retreat to the bar. The night dragged on in noise and spills. Freight haulers argued cargo rates with religious fervor. 2 Melvery clicked and chirred in coded rhythms. A chrome-plated service android nursed an oil cocktail and pretended not to listen. Jocelyn logged that detail. 2. At precisely 2200 station time. Goravel entered. The Melvery broker's compound eyes reflected the neon lights in fractured spectrums. Her robes concealed dozens of hidden compartments, each capable of holding data chips, weapons, or credits. She caught Jocelyn's gaze for half a second, antennae twitching, then crossed toward Vorath's table. This was the meeting Jocelyn had been waiting for. She restocked bottles while subtly repositioning herself. The privacy screen activated, but Jocelyn's micro-receiver, 3 days of calibration, slipped neatly through its encryption. Coordinates verified. Goravel clicked. "The buyer demands authentication." "They insult our honor," Vorath growled. "They insult everyone's honor," Goravel replied. "That is how they remain wealthy." A pause. "The sample was convincing," Goravel continued. "They agree to proceed. When?" "Tomorrow. Docking Base 17, midnight." Jocelyn forced her pulse to remain steady. Then, spoken in Dominion tongue, "The human watches us." "The younger Sarek, many humans watch," Vorath replied calmly. "We are impressive. This one watches like a hunter." Jocelyn didn't move. Vorath's eyes met hers across the cantina. After a long moment, he smiled. "Perhaps she admires Sarek beauty," he said loudly in standard speech. "Human females have unusual preferences." Laughter broke the tension. An hour later, the cantina thinned. Freight crews stumbled out singing. The Melvery vanished. Even the chrome android paid and rolled toward the exit. The Sarek stayed. As Jocelyn cleaned near the entrance, Vorath appeared beside her. Silent as a shadow. "We close soon," he said. 10 minutes. His clawed hand closed around her arm, not painful, but unmistakable. "I think you can serve me one more thing." Fear entered her voice. "Real enough. I think you are not what you pretend," Vorath said softly. "I think you listened tonight." Behind him, his soldiers rose. Jocelyn weighed her weapons. Her mission. Her survival. He slammed her against the bar, pinning her, searching. "Who sent you?" "No one," she gasped. "I answered a job listing." Her fingers brushed the stun charge hidden beneath the counter. Then, "Release her." The android stood in the doorway. Pulse pistol aimed. "I am Lieutenant Colby Brannock. Coalition Intelligence." Chaos erupted, this time. Jocelyn chose a third option. She struck.